The following video will touch on the subject matter of subject matter experts being used in court cases, getting the right one, and we will also be touching on an incident in Delphi. This video will be about the iPhone 6s, ostensibly, as best as we can collect data for. Bringing up a few things here. Water, rain, tap water, deionized water, water with some salts found in it, mud, etc. Water that you experience in the world, if you get it chemically pure in some way, like let's say you have it distilled, will be an extremely high resistance, meaning it won't let electricity flow through it really at all. You can use it as an insulator in high voltage equipment, depending on what you're doing. Rainwater is sometimes quoted as being 20,000 ohms resistance. Sometimes filtered water can be 500 k ohms. Okay? The resistance of the dirt outside at 1 millimeter spacing with a digital multimeter, specifically designed for testing all sorts of crazy materials, with each setting checked, showed 20 k ohms. Water from a tap showed millions of ohms. If you add salt to water, it lowers the resistance or impedance. At this moment, someone will immediately scream that you're using the wrong kind of thing because insert extremely specialized environment. I'm using a digital multimeter that measures the resistance between 2 points in a way that is nearly identical to every piece of electronics that allows you to plug in a microphone or a headphone or a combination. Your argument's invalid. Please step to the back of the class and proceed to leave. Now, the iPhone 6 jack, the phone jack, isn't just a headphone jack. A little bit of electronics data here. 4 conductors on it. One of them is the ground. That's the negative value or ground line. It's also where every wire connects to common. This is also called the common connection. At the tip of it is the main connection for its purpose. If it's a microphone only, it'll be where the microphone hooks up. If it has a headphone audio capability, it'll be for mono headphones, it'll be for both phones. If it's for 2 earphones, this will be the left channel. The next one in, this is called the tip, this is called the ring. There's only one ring officially on a standard stereo headphone jack. That ring will carry the right channel. So it's left, right. Okay? Then we go for the next connection in. Right before we hit the ground point, this will be the microphone connection on a lot of headphones you have if you were curious. That microphone, unless very much otherwise noted, will be an Electret condenser microphone. It requires that you put in some amount of electricity into it. The normal way to do that is to put in a resistor on the power line, run it to it so that it powers it, and then whatever variation it makes to that voltage, a tiny variation, is fed through a isolation capacitor that allows it to get the audio out without the DC voltage being there. Virtually every single set of headphones these days, unless otherwise noted, is based on that, especially if they're integrated into headphones. Okay? And it runs at multiple thousands of ohms for using and maybe detecting a microphone being plugged in. Not the headphones, which will be 32 ohms. So let's move on. The methods by which a tip will be, the audio tip will be plugged in, is that you'll notice at the end of it, it has an indentation on it. That will be able to be grabbed, usually by a piece of metal that's shaped roughly like this. I'm going to do a really bad job with my hand here. This will represent a piece of metal that's bent this way, and as you put in the plug, it goes ka-thunk and moves this out of the way. At the same time, it also might move, let's say it's plugging in there, it might unplug another pin. In the old mechanical setups, these contacts would do this. This would be the feed in, and this would go to the speakers or whatever for the cabinet or whatever to a preamp. And this is actually what carried the audio signal, and then you just move this out of the way, and it would disconnect it from the rest of the amplifier equipment. sometimes also shorting this quote-unquote input to the amp. Therefore, the speakers in your iPhone may shut off. But that's the old days where we used these analog connections, and they worked, in most cases, just fine for literally decades. But oh no, on the iPhone, they might have integrated, since they integrated a microphone already, some other form of detector. Okay, these are called smart phone jacks. You already can hear the sarcasm coming out of me. Sorry about that. Complaints. The iPhone 6 jack, they're not saying 6S, just 6, was designed to allow rotation of the connector because a lot of them had a right angle plug thing. This is a problem for a number of headphones. Too much tolerance. Half the phones someone said he owned wouldn't work, or they'd cut in and out. The music would start and stop playing. Is that because the connection isn't working, or because it's detecting any kind of movement? Siri sometimes engages erroneously due to the movement of the headphone jack or movement of the headphone cable in it, recognizing the headphones are plugged in but didn't allow the music to play. If you have a smart jack, it can choose, that means it's making a decision, to assume you plugged in a microphone-only plug. A smart jack might be able to detect that all of the pins are shorted except for the one in the end, so the tip is open, and the ring and the mic and the ground are all shorted to each other. And it might decide, oh, this is a mono headphone or a microphone. I don't know. You'd have to look at the manual. If you plug a mono microphone into it, does it suddenly work? Depending on what era and what they chose to do, I haven't seen anybody test this. Let's move on. Claims. Again, we're talking 20,000 ohms, 500,000 ohms, or 1,000,000 ohms versus 32 ohms, not millions or thousands, for a headphone, or 16 ohms, or 8. Versus a microphone being detected as a high impedance source, and maybe it's a smart jack. Let's move on. Former FBI forensic examiner, I'm assuming this is a computer forensics examiner, with a degree in computer information management, Stacey Eldridge, said every time a phone is turned on or off, it loses some data files. If you're talking about the solid state memory that's in most cell phones, that sounds like it's anything that is not supposed to be retrieved later, like old log files or whatever, might get erased and overwritten, or it might be due to it doing a defect criteria management, which means since it's a solid state device, it tries to only write to an area as few times as possible. So if it has to erase something, it just declares it not usable, but it locks out the area that it just did that to, so it won't overwrite it, so you won't lose information. The only exception is if you set the phone or the device to overwrite as quick as possible everything, which means it would shorten its lifespan, make the equipment more expensive, be bad for consumers. Yeah, that totally sounds like Apple products. But this person's saying it about every phone. I'm sure this is a misquote. Let's move on. Stacey Eldridge also said, I found no data suggesting the phone was ever turned off during this period of time, as presumed. I don't know if the phone was set to vibrate or was set to silent or would have rang loudly. Okay, now we get to the next part. Libby German's iPhone 6S was found under a shoe, and that shoe was under Abby. And the screen was, in a picture, shown to be covered in water droplets and leaves, and among sticks and dirt at the scene. No headphone was found, as the claim. Also, no add-on device called an Apple Lightning dongle for headphones was found either. Now, I'm going to bring up the exact wording as much as possible for testimony about this. 13th of the month, February 2017. Mechanical manipulation is the quote I'm using here. A log file was found on the phone and analyzed by Stacey Eldridge, according to this. Last movement was logged, movement, at 2:32 p.m. 5:44 p.m., the phone attempted to reconnect to a tower. A minute later, the headphone jack was inserted. This is a kind of wording that only a person who's never worked with sound equipment would use. That doesn't sound normal. That implies strongly this individual is talking about some add-on to turn a iPhone that typically doesn't have a headphone jack into being able to do it by inserting a headphone jack. The headphone jack was inserted, and that would stop sound. This was milliseconds or microseconds, depending on which one I read, after the phone call came into Libby's phone. Now I'm going to bring up something here. It might have only logged that there was something in the headphone jack, or someone inserted a headphone jack, inserted a headphone plug. I'm sorry, but at this point, if you're a computer geek and you don't know that's called a plug, this is a plug, not a jack. I would have immediately cross-examined the person to identify the parts and say, do you know what an innie versus an outie is? I would probably get laughed at. I would probably ask, and by the way, the word dongle comes up. Make your jokes. That'll get you in trouble in some hacker scenes. Next. If water or dirt got into the port, a headphone interaction may have been logged. That's not the same as your claim or the statement that I saw in there that I'm highlighting, mechanical manipulation. Was it being moved or not? No. Then how is it a mechanical manipulation? Was it vibration? Was it the microphone built into it detecting sound movement? Is it assuming it? Did it detect it through inertia sensors? 10:32 p.m., headphone jack was removed. Again, it's not called a jack unless you're talking about this being an add-on to give a jack to it. And this allows sound to be enabled. But again, was it in vibrate, silent, or normal mode? No data was being used by any apps till the 4:33 a.m. timing when it tried to connect again or did connect. Presumption people are making. Someone manipulated this thing at 5:45 p.m. by, quote, inserting a headphone jack. Nobody asked for clarity here. I'm not seeing it. I'm sure there is. The only clarity they asked is a bunch of lawyers speak. Again, if you're dealing with technical subjects, the entire case, except for the casing, the cartridge, that's called an unspent round when it's just an unfired round or just a cartridge. It's called a cartridge. When they haven't fired it, it's just a cartridge. It's not an unspent round. I'm a computer geek and electronics geek, and I know this. Makes me claw my eyes out. And again, what was it? Degree in computer information management. That means you've never touched a soldering iron. We're done with all the data. All the links below will be links to the image of it. Okay, here we go. Mechanical manipulation log. Okay, first of all, is your phone recording when you plug in your headphones or a dongle or whatever? I don't like that, number one. Number two, if it's useful stuff, why aren't you being more specific? Number three, jack versus plug. Next, get someone to look at this video if you're thinking of putting them in on the stand and make sure they're not technically stupid. Do I believe this affects the case? My opinion of the case, yes, but do I believe that this would exonerate or convict anyone? This should have been deleted. If anybody has the raw data, again, for the umpteenth fucking time, if anybody has the raw data files from that damn phone so someone can look at it that knows the difference between a jack and a plug, please forward the data. Links below in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.